Hey climbers, Brent here. Are you ready to write your best songs ever? Are you ready to take that next step in your songwriting journey? Well, I want to help you with that. Listening to the C.L.I.M.B podcast is a great way to get started on your songwriting journey and to learn the basics about the art, the craft, and the business of songwriting. But eventually, you're probably going to need the personal touch. You're probably going to need some one-on-one feedback, some advice, and some help reaching your songwriting goals. And that's what I want to help do for you. I want to help you write your best songs ever. And I want to help you learn the art, the craft, and the business of songwriting, of how to turn pro in your mind and in your behavior before you ever turn pro on paper. Before you ever have the awards to hang on the wall, I want to give you the mindsets and the skills to earn that stuff. And so we'll dive into your questions and I'll give you honest answers. And I can help repair your song if it's already written but has a couple bugs and has some opportunities to get better. Or we can help prepare your song if you have an idea, a notion, a title. We can do your own private song title challenge if you want. If you want to get ready for a co-write, if you have a meeting coming up and you want to get your stuff locked down where it's the best it can be, I'm happy to help you do that as well. You can see my calendar, get all the details, and actually book a session at songwritingpro.com/coaching. That is songwritingpro.com/coaching. Now, if you're still not sure if a coaching session with me is the right thing for you, let's listen to what this climber had to say about their session.
The first time I met with Brent was an hour session, face-to-face on Skype. I was pretty excited to have the opportunity for some back and forth discussion about my songs, because up until then I had been pressing send on the computer and waiting for days for a written general critique. With the written critiques, I was finding that sometimes I was left trying to interpret them on my own and then comb through what I know to fix what I thought they were getting at. But Brent provided real-time interactive feedback based on a solid and deliberate method. It didn't feel random and definitely didn't feel like judgment. In the end, I went away with solution-based critique that made perfect sense to me. I remember being a little worried about wasting time in my session trying to think of every question that I might have so that I could make the very most of it. But once he dove in, and it's kind of a magical thing to witness, his brain just turns and churns until every nook and cranny of that song has been considered, and I just wasn't left with many questions at all. The best thing after my session was just being able to see a clear path ahead and feeling also like my own brain is clicking a whole bunch faster after trying to keep up with his crazy acrobatic ninja fighter type brain. So I highly recommend sessions with Brent.
All right, welcome to another Song Title Challenge, where the question is, songwriters, how would you write this one? The way this whole little mini-series thing works is climbers send in their song titles to info@daredevilproduction.com. Production is singular. There is no S. Once again, info@daredevilproduction.com. Put song title challenge in the subject line. You can submit as many song titles as you would like. And I'm going to pick one randomly. I'm going to spring it on Brent like we're about to do right now live on the podcast. And then we take about 15 minutes and recreate what normally happens on a professional write on Music Row for the first 15 minutes, where before we start writing lyrics, we are going around and around with the different conceptual ideas of the title to see if we have the best direction picked before we write the lyrics. I would say when I look at amateur song lyrics, Brent, this is probably the number one pothole. Right? They come up with the title, which for better or for worse is the title, and then they just start writing. And there's no thought or creativity put into, is there a different way to say this? Like, is there a different angle of this title? And so that's what we're doing here. It's not a co-write in any way, shape, or form. This is just a fun, creative exercise that's really kind of caught on in the C.L.I.M.B community. People really enjoy it. Use none of it, use some of it, use all of it. The only thing we ask for in return is invite us to the number one party. You got anything else you want to add to that, Brent?
No, this is for education and encouragement and to challenge you, and it puts me on the spot. So part of it is could be a comedy of errors. But yeah, here to help you just kind of dig more deeply into your ideas and maybe show you some ways to do that and show you how I think about it going, okay, if I want to try and turn this into a hit, maybe some different genres, how can we do this? So that said, I'll take a sip of coffee and I'm ready to rock. Not really.
All right. And one final comment is, obviously, Brent's a hit country songwriter, and he writes from the perspective of a professional songwriter trying to get cuts. But this exercise here is for everybody. I mean, if you're a self-contained artist and you write your own songs and you're only cutting your own stuff and you're not trying to get cuts, this is still way worth doing. So we strongly advise that you jump in and have some fun with it. So
yeah, because I don't just do it for the show. It went so well on here. It was so much fun. I've started doing song title challenges on my own old titles.
Right, with all 4,100 what?
20 something of them at the moment. Yes.
Brent's like, before we started this podcast, he's like, pick a number between 1 and 4,127. I'm like, that's weird. I'm like, 3,753. And he's like, right. He pops out a song title. I was like, what was that? I'm like, wait a second, you have that many titles? He's like, yeah. I'm like, dang, dude.
So yeah, right. I do my own to make myself. I'm eating my own medicine here. I'm taking my own medicine here. So
right.
All right.
Right. You practicing what you preach.
Exactly.
And you preach. So the climber is Curtis Cameron. Thank you, Curtis, for sending that in. The title is Alcohol Involved. Alcohol Involved.
Involved. All right. So there was alcohol involved. So that's the first thing I think of is kind of that complete phrase is there was alcohol involved. I think of, are you involved with someone? Yeah, he's involved with someone. Like he's alcohol involved. He's in love with alcohol. He's in a relationship. It's committed, or she is with Jack. Alcohol involved. All right. So I'm a country hammer. So the first place I'm going to look is look for country nails to try to hit this. So alcohol involved. So in general, if you're writing for country or really any market, positive, fun, up tempo. Man, I was pitching songs yesterday. I have a pitch list in front of me, and I'll just pull this up. You can hear it in my never nicotine stained fingers here. All right, so what are we looking for? Need up tempo. Let's see, rowdy. Need that one special song to finish projects. I'm just reading down here. Tempo, positive country, radio singles. Another positive tempo. Need tempo, current sounding melodies. Tempo, a la so and so. I mean, so much of this. There's like one going, need that one great ballad, but that's an independent artist. All right. So how can it sounds like it's meant to be a tempo, right? So fun, up tempo, rowdy kind of bar song, alcohol involved. Let's see. There's alcohol involved. Good grief. How do you keep it from being just like we know it's going to be a good time if there's alcohol involved. Is there alcohol involved? We're going out. Maybe not. Is there alcohol involved? I also think, the downer part of me, which is, usually I find it a little more interesting. I don't always write it though, is, there was alcohol involved in that accident. It feels almost like a newspaper report or a police report saying, there was alcohol involved. And so that's probably one of the first things to think of when you hear that phrase. And so I guess you got to kind of be a little wary of, if you do like a fun thing, if that's what a lot of people think of is, there's alcohol involved in this wreck that claimed the lives of 2 teenagers in town. There's alcohol involved. And here we are making it a fun party song. Could be pretty off-putting. Alcohol involved. That's one way to go with it is just to write that, trying to think of a good guide song of, the I drive your truck kind of thing where it's the ballad, but it was, there's alcohol involved. I remember Gary Allen has this old song called Don't Tell Mama I Was Drinking where, this guy, the singer comes upon this wreck and this young man, he's in the wreckage and he's on his way out, and he's like, please don't tell Mama I was drinking. Lord knows I'd break her heart. Her soul would never rest kind of thing. But you could do something real serious like that, which feels like it'd be really hard to get away with in country because it's such kind of a pro alcohol kind of genre. Maybe in something like bluegrass, you could get away with something like that. alcohol involved, and there was this. You kind of give these vignettes, and there was a wreck. There's a car wreck, and there's alcohol involved, and then there was domestic violence or whatever, and a kid's being taken out of the home, and nothing's solved when there's alcohol involved. You can do that kind of thing where it's
nothing's solved when there's alcohol
involved, right? Because I'm thinking of the rhyme too. How do you rhyme alcohol involved? Solved. Because sometimes that can click an idea in your head too. You start thinking of rhyme.
Call.
Yeah, something called. Yeah, I was thinking
stalled.
of that too. Better call Saul when there's
alcohol involved. Brawl.
Yeah.
Barroom brawl.
Well, I can. Yeah, almost like I can make that call. Bet there was alcohol involved, or something like, or okay. So many things you do is like. Yeah, for you to make this call, pretty sure there's alcohol involved. Kind of like you only call me when you're drunk, or you probably had to work up the courage to call me. There's that. It could be the dumb, fun country redneck kind of thing of if this happened and this happened, I'm pretty, mystery solved. Bet there was alcohol involved. Why do you?
Kind of like a play on the joke of, you've heard
Hold my beer. Watch this.
Yeah. What's the last thing a redneck says right before he dies? Is hold my beer. And then exactly. there's the sister joke to that, which is what's the redneck's best friend? What's the last words a redneck's best friend says right before he dies? You're doing it, man. You're doing it. That was going around the studios last year for a while. That was pretty funny.
That's great. So it could be that kind of thing. Like, you wonder, or like in the paper or, like a YouTube video, you see like what makes a man think he can do blah, 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 blah. Then you get down, then you get to the bottom and the mystery solved. You've read there's alcohol involved or something, or not even like you're reading up on this stuff, but like you see this, like what makes a redneck think he can do a triple gainer off a garage roof into a Walmart kiddie pool or whatever.
And still hits his head on the side of the motorcycle or the engine block that's in the front yard.
Right. Well,
he slips as he jumps off.
Yeah. Man, what's the cause? Mystery solved. I don't know, but I bet there's alcohol involved, And there's a thing too, like, I don't know, but I bet there's alcohol involved.
So on the positive note, it could be like if you think about it melodically, like a big old like solo cup, red solo cup. What's the word I'm looking for? Like gang vocal chant, big old sing along thing. Yeah. Because we're all in for the cause when there's alcohol involved. Or we all pick up the call when there's alcohol involved. You can talk about your friends.
Yeah.
And it's like a group of buddies. It's kind of like when the bad signal goes up, somebody needs support, like somebody like we all circle the wagons. We all take the call because alcohol is involved, and something like that.
And it could be too, like when going out tonight with my guys, with my bros, and we may get into this, we may get into that. We don't know what tonight's going to hold. All we know for sure is there's alcohol involved, or there's probably going to be alcohol involved. Like that's the only thing we know for sure. Everything else, no telling.
Yeah.
Till after the fact. And so it could be that kind of thing too. Like we might end up in prison or end up in a bar. Either way would be, passing out behind bars.
End up in prison or just a bad brawl.
Or just in handcuffs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Might end up in prison or just in handcuffs. Either way will be, whatever. It's a story to tell kind of.
We're 10 feet tall and acting real tough. Like.
Yeah, exactly. And either way, staggering out whatever. So when the sun comes up and that kind of thing, it's like I don't know what's going to happen. It's a mystery. I can't wait to solve. The only thing I know for sure is there's going to be alcohol involved. That it's a real circuitous way of coming back around to it. But like that's
cool though. I like that. Like that's
like it's a mystery. What's going to happen tonight?
Right, and you could just talk about like all the other previous mysteries that have been unraveled.
Yeah, it could be that, or
if you had some clever stories, right? Mm-hmm. That were, I mean, like, so you could put specificity in there. That would be really cool. I remember, so straight up Tyler from Lonely Highway, they had this like big show down in Georgia, right? It's a private show. This dude paid him a bunch of money to come down and play on his big piece of property, and there's a bunch of people there, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if he had a bar that was on the property or something. I wasn't there, but they're down there for the whole day. And this dude's loaded, right? He's got all kinds of friggin' like boy toys, like four-wheelers. And what are those things that are almost like
full boys named Pedro? You mean like boy toys as in things with motors?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like big expensive toys. Like, and so I can't remember what you call them. Like it's not a gator and it's not like a four-wheeler, but it's like, it almost looks like a cart car. You know what I mean? But it's off-road kind of thing. I don't know what they call them, but they're, those boys, I think they wake and drink and wake and bake, 24/7. They're slightly debilitated. So straight up, like all of a sudden they make a wrong turn and Tyler's with this girl and they're sideways. They rolled the damn thing and this dude's car, man, it got all wrecked. He wrecked it. And there was alcohol involved. But like, so there's lyrically something like a story that you could dive into that could be.
And just for clarity, I'm sure it was on private property.
On private property, yeah. This guy's got a whole,
on city streets. Okay.
No. Yeah, this is off road, and like this dude's got a big piece of property. Like I said, I think I don't know if there's a bar on the property, if they just played outside with generators or whatever, but it was a big old private party, and they were having fun. I think it was after the show. This is probably like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, right, and driving around all loaded, and they rolled the damn thing, wrecked it. You know what I mean? But so there's like a wild story, right? That that would be. I mean, that's kind of stuff you can't write. You know what I mean? Like because it has to happen first, and you're like, oh, okay, we can't dream this up, and that could be something like that. That could be a succession of stories like that are crazy. That if they're real and they're authentic, could be funny and relatable.
It could be kind of the I love this bar kind of thing where it's like when the guys this guy knows when I get a little tipsy, I'm 10 foot tall, I'm bulletproof, I'm Aristotle and John Wayne all at once kind of thing. It's like there's alcohol involved. There's no mystery I can't solve. There's no there's no mystery
I can't solve. That's it from disproving the Pythagorean theorem, which you're not going to say, but that's the idea, right? Because it doesn't sing well. But from philosophy to
golf,
to golf, to a golf swing.
All of it.
Yeah, dude, rock.
I know everything. I'm an expert on everything from rocket science to golf when there's alcohol involved. And golf.
That's good. That's good. I like that. Yeah.
Or it could be, we, like me and my guys, when we go out and all of a sudden everybody knows everything, but so it's a little more we to it. So it's not
if you did that, you could do it like, who did Dang Me? They Ought to Get a Rope and Hang Me. Who's that artist? Roger Miller. You could put like a Roger Miller tongue in cheek twist on it where you're like, I don't know why we're not a think tank for the government. We could solve hunger. We could solve the Middle East problem.
We're tanked, we think.
Because we're I don't know why we're not in one of them government think tanks, because when we're tanked, we think, and there ain't a mystery and a problem in the world that we can't solve when there's alcohol involved.
Yeah. So it's that little, drunk philosophy, but it's also the stuff that, we're good at everything. Oh, I can do that. Watch.
Yeah. Hold my beer.
Got that thing too. It's a hold my beer. And so that could be, the kind of fun sing along where, people are like, but it's a we thing. So the singer's not just pointing it at himself, but it's like me and my boys, are this way. So that'd be a thing. Let me check our time here. 17. We're closing down on it, but I think we're starting to finally maybe unlock some stuff on this. Boy, I come back to the thing of like a female going, "Oh, I'm sorry, no, I'm not going to go out with you because it's obvious you're involved. You're alcohol involved. Like, call me when you're sober." He's kind of a drunk, sloppy mess. It's like, don't hit on me. Go away. You're dismissed. Could be that kind of thing. I mean, it has a fun kind of rhythm to the words. Alcohol involved. All kind of rhymes. There's the internal rhyme to it, which is kind of cool.
Another thing you could do that would be a little maybe a little darker on the lyrics, but if it was up tempo, right, it could be interesting. I mean, and think about that, like with, you know, like the Mavericks, right? Like every song is about a heartbreak, right? And that, but it's all these like depressing lyrics, but it
feels good
to tempo and it feels good. And you got, you know, Raul singing like he could sing the phone book and you'd be like, oh my Lanta.
Right.
What if you did sort of a really clever way of describing a couple different kinds of alcohol, you know, as if it was a relationship.
Okay.
You know, so you almost personifying it could be the bottle. It could be Miranda Lambert did a little bit of that with Vice. You know, I can't try to remember the lyric.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember that too. Some on the table and drink before the even melts the ice.
Yeah. It's
I mean,
so here it is.
Like,
it's Sting of the Needle dropping on the vine, neon singer with the
that's the first verse.
Jukebox title for Heartbreak. Yeah, when it hurts so good, you got to play it twice. All dressed up in a pretty black label, Sweet Salvation on the dining room table, waiting on me where the numb meets the lonely. It's gone before it ever melts the ice.
Yeah.
That kind of poetic waxing of alcohol, you know, like, so check this out. So before I left Arizona, my cousins took me out to this amazing charcuterie restaurant that just total mind blow. This restaurant, I'd never been there before. And so my one cousin-in-law and I got there first and we go, you know, right to the bar as one does when they're with me. And we order old fashions. And so the bar's full and at 1:00 in the afternoon on, when did I come home? Like, I guess it was a Saturday. So Saturday afternoon. And the girl at the bar is like, oh, you're going to freak when he makes this. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. It's an old fashioned, you know? Dude, so they got a white oak plank board with 2 brands on this plank on the bar, right? It's like, you know, like a small, like maybe a 2-inch wide plank. So it would fit like where the bar rubber fits, you know, where you would on the bar. And there's the restaurant logo is branded into this white oak. And then he takes a blowtorch, like a kitchen blowtorch, right? Yeah. And lights the wood up, right? So it starts to glow red. And then he takes a glass and he turns it upside down and the glass fills with smoke.
Yeah.
All right. And then he's fixing up the cocktail like in a shaker. All right. And he does that 2 times for 2 glasses. And then he goes and he gets like the big ice cubes, right? Like when I drink whiskey, I drink it with ice. I like a big ice cube, right? Because it melts slower than a bunch of little ice cubes.
Yeah.
And this straight up, dude, this guy drops the big ice cube in each of these glasses that have now been smoked. Okay. So for flavor, right? And he takes a brand and he brands the ice cube and then jumps the cocktail. And you're like, oh, this is the best cocktail I've ever had. Like, she wasn't kidding. Like, it's a whole show. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, like so something like that. I mean, you know, just personifying this sort of, you could be really poetic about it. You could be tongue in cheek about it, but you know, but the end all being that it's like a relationship and you're involved with alcohol or.
Yeah.
You touched on that at the beginning of this episode, but I just thought we could go deeper on that.
Yeah, I mean, it could be fun too. It's like, you know, sorry, honey, tonight I'm just here to drink. I'm alcohol involved. Are you involved with anyone? Yeah, I'm alcohol involved. I mean, she's old fashioned. You know, she's straight up neat. She's, you know, you can talk about that way describing drinks that are also like how you describe like.
There you go.
You're with kind of thing. And she's
not a sex on the beach kind of girl because that's vodka, right? So it could be like about whiskey, you know? She's not a sex on the beach kind of girl, which also states that there's some integrity, right, to the girl or something. Not that sex on the beach is a bad thing, people. I'm not denouncing that.
No, you would never want to do that, Johnny. Yeah, it could be something like that. Like and you're describing, you know, kind of this drink is like, you know, so I'm not looking for anyone else, you know, any girl, whatever, anyone to call or whatever. Tonight I'm just alcohol involved.
Yeah.
And because of a heartbreak kind of thing, like I'm not looking for that again because I got hurt before. And so it could be, it doesn't have to be slow, even though that's kind of a heartbreak thing. If you think like a John Party kind of, you know, where it swings, it's got some movement to it and it feels good, you know? So it could be, she's straight up neat, old fashioned, whatever. I don't know my alcohol well enough to talk about that stuff.
She's old fashioned, Manhattans, right? There's Manhattan. There's, you could do a lot of things with that. So whiskey sour,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes she's a little sweet. Sometimes she's a little sour. So
Bottom line is she goes straight to my head, makes me feel good. She gets in my blood, goes straight to my head, makes me feel good. And that's done.
Frank Sinatra would just talk about drinking scotch, I think. And he would be like, you take that first drink and it just feathers out into your lungs. Like you can feel it in your lungs. You breathe in a little bit of that. And it's like there's another sensation that a whiskey drinker would relate to. That's super interesting.
And that sort of thing. It's like, I'm just enjoying my drinks. Doesn't have to be like I'm getting straight up smashed or anything.
Yeah.
Not looking to fall, keeping it steady, but tonight I'm alcohol involved. Like,
there you go.
Drink, So like, So anyway, that's the thought on that. I know we've gone long for one of these, but that last thing feels kind of cool, especially if you think John Party or that kind of vibe, where it's country or even a Blake kind of thing on his country stuff could be kind of cool.
Yeah. I love that. That's cool. Anyway, so that's not good. So if somebody wants to do this privately, Brent, with you, maybe they got a title they don't want to share with the world just yet until it's done. What can they do?
Yeah, I do private consulting. I do private song title challenges with you. I do coach writing. I do, just consultation. So any questions you have, feel free to ask me. I do them in person. I do them mostly online or on the phone if you need it. You can get all the details at songwritingpro.com/coaching. That's songwritingpro.com/coaching. And we can help you repair your song. We can help you prepare your song. We help you write your best songs ever, answer your questions about the business, all that good stuff. So, songwritingpro.com/coaching. Love to work with you.
All right, there you go. So that brings us to the end of another killer song title challenge episode. Once again, please send in your titles, all you want, to info@daredevilproduction.com and put song title challenge in the subject line, and we'll start working on it live on the air. This podcast exists because we want you to win, so keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.
Song title challenge.